Confirm that you can hear me now. Yes, I think you can hear me. You're welcome to this webinar, and my name is Mr. Nelson Okonda, and I'm so glad to have you here with us. This is the Octavio Business Analyst Program, and we're having a free webinar for interested participants that would want to be part of the forthcoming Business Analyst Program. We're happy to have you here with us. And for the next 1 hour, I'll be sharing with you why we're doing the BAP, what the BAP is all about, and why we think that you should be part of this year's BAP. This is my brief profile. I've been in this business for a while. I mean, of advising and providing advisory services to different players in the Nigerian ecosystem, both in public, private sector, and also working with development organizations to bring about different interventions at different levels. Part of my passion and love for what we do is the fact that you're actually making a difference. You're actually engaging stakeholders, governments, private sector organizations to bring about unique outcomes that help them become better at what they do. So we're happy to have you here with us. And today we'll be discussing 4 key items. One is the background for BAP. In other words, what are the considerations that informed the choice for this business analyst program? And what really is business? What does it mean to be a business analyst? Why get an analyst training? And what will be the course content? And what are the benefits for you who is considering attending? These are the 4 key themes I'll be discussing with us today within the next 1 hour. I'll try to keep it, probably see if we can finish in, let's say, 45 minutes, so we could take some questions, some feedback. Now, you are watching this probably on YouTube. Feel free to, bump some questions at us, and we'll be glad to provide answers to that. But for many of you, you would watch this video much later. Still feel free to drop your comments, and we'll be on standby to provide answers. So back to the subject. But let me give a background. The principal background I would like to give is that the principal purpose for our education, the reason why you are considering having this session with us, watching this video, is because you want to develop yourself. You want to improve your productivity. You want to be better at what you do. That's primarily why you are watching this video today. And it's good to understand that and to even go ahead to interrogate the subject of development, to ask ourselves, what is development? Very important. Now, development is the process via which individuals, you and I, achieve improved outcomes from our environment. In other words, if I interact with my environment in a profitable manner compared to someone else, we could say that I am more developed than that person. So it is the process of achieving improved outcomes from the environment. And it's very important to understand it because the job market that we're talking about, that we're concerned about, getting a job, being productive, earning higher, is a measure of the capacity to achieve improved outcome from the environment. And it's a factor of 3 things. One, the skills that you have or the tools that you have, and the institutions that you operate within, and how you and other individuals are organized within those institutions. I'm going to prove this assumption by taking us back a little bit to history, to look at the different historical development practice that has occurred within the human civilization and their implications. Once again, my name is Nelson Okwona. For those of you who are just joining, and we are discussing why BAP, why the business analyst program and how can you, as an analyst, contribute optimally to national development, and why even consider this course. That's the theme of our conversation. I'll eventually just join us. So I was saying earlier that the history of human development gives us indications that there are factors that influence the quality of the interaction with the environment. So, for example, many years ago, our forebears were in what we call the Stone Age. So then, before they could develop weapons like metals, they were basically using flints, the flint age. So the level of organization then was not complex. People were organized primarily in families. If you're a Christian, you read the Bible, that there was Adam, his wife, and children. So they were organized just in families. So they had a communal setting. So you have to be in a communal setting to thrive, in that environment. The communal setting, the head of the family is the principal institution for development. So in that case, for you to be a developed individual, you have to basically learn from your father. You have to learn from your mother, learn from your siblings, to learn how to interact with the environment in a profitable manner. So families was the instrument of development, and the human institutions were organized more like in a communal setting. After a while, we had the Iron Age. With the Iron Age, now we could fight wars. We could, kill each other faster. We could kill animals, so we could travel farther and wider. And we started having the warrior class. The warrior class were people who are more adept at, using these instruments of warfare. So over time, we had the families and the elites. The elites were more like the warriors that gave protection to the family. So you now start having things like elders, leaders, or maybe even kings. But it was not very pronounced within the Iron Age. But it became a lot more pronounced within the agricultural age. One man found that he could farm land on a massive scale. Now, to be a farmer, you have to be settled. You have to be settled and focused on farming. So over time, you had the landlords and the people who are farming. So a good case study, if you're a student of history and read about the UK, you know about the feudal system where you had those that own the lands, and then you have those that farm it. Now, those that own the lands happen to also be the warriors, aligned to a particular king. So the point I want to bring out is that in these institutions, in these ages of human development, you have to align properly. So, for example, in the feudal system, you have to understand how to be in the king's good graces, to try. You have to learn how to interact with the economic system of that age. Then, very important, because without that knowledge, without that skills, you cannot prosper in that age. So in that age, it was those that, that could interact profitably within that structure of a king or the local system, because then you could do nothing without a king. Unlike today, you could come up and start your own business, you don't need to know any king, but then you can't do that. So that institution and the way to organize played a critical role as to how people were emerging, I'm moving faster than Watson. It played a critical role as to how people were able to emerge. Now, with the early industrial age, we didn't just have kings and nobles. Now, all of a sudden, we had companies. A company were an entity that had more than one or two persons, as is by literally a company. And these individuals were now able to raise money from, most times, the kings and nobles to now implement certain activities. So, for example, the firms that came to colonize Nigeria, colonize America, were firms. But these firms received investments from the kings and nobles. You hear about the Royal Niger Company. Royal Niger Company is a firm that the King of England endowed with money, and that firm came to Africa to do business on behalf of the king. So subjugating us, colonizing us, was part of a business venture of an entity called the Royal Niger Company. So the Royal Dutch Company was doing the same thing in South Africa, representing the Dutch government. So even within the African setting, we have similar settings where the kings of the time could, put certain responsibilities in the hands of individuals who acted on their behalf and took a profit. The point is that to be a distinguished business person in that age means being able to navigate that system. Over time, we came to the late industrial age, and this age, there was no kings anymore. The role of kings became inconsequential. It was primary firms and elected government, and in a way, that is where we still are. We are still in the structure that recognizes primary firms and elected government. So we are in the knowledge management age where we have more, capitalism, firms, and elected government. So there are no kings here. The point to note is that you cannot thrive optimally. You cannot achieve optimal development. By development, I mean capacity to negotiate and achieve improved outcome from your environment in this age if you don't understand the structure, protocols, operations of firms and elected government. So very important. And I hope my points have been sufficiently made, but if not, please feel free to ask questions. I have my team members here. They can raise the questions with you. So the role of education within every of this age was to prepare young people, young humans for the development process. So you saw that earlier picture that we showed earlier where the man was skinning a goat and somebody else was there watching. So that would have been a little boy watching the father skin an animal. So he was getting hands-on education on how to profitably interface with the environment. You have seen movies when, if you are in the warrior class, as a young person, what you do during your spare time is to learn how to do swords or war, because it is the warrior class that leads. You cannot be a leader in that age, even as a woman, without knowing how to do physical warfare. But that was the structure of the organization that they had then. So the role of education in every age is to prepare young humans for the development process. To develop nations are nations that are able to achieve better outcomes. They have better institutions for education. They are better organized. There are those who are able to achieve more favorable outcome from the interaction with the environment. I hope I'm communicating. I hope this is making sense. Please feel free to drop one or two notes on the video if you're watching, so that we can. I want to just get some level of feedback, so I'm sure following me. But the point is this: you need to understand the age you are in, and we are in the age where firms and elected governments, or governments generally, whether elected or not, are the ones that influence to a large extent the instruments of development. So for example, if you want to make money, you have to work in a company, or work for a government, or start a company. Firm. A firm is a legal entity recognized by law. Many years ago, you don't have to do that. All it is a farmland. So in the time of biblical times, they didn't have firms and corporations. So if in this age that a firm is the principal institution for engaging the marketplace, and you don't understand how that firm is structured, its motivations, its obligations to its partners, its intricate details of operations, the legal considerations that determine its existence, you cannot effectively contribute optimally to the development process in a nutshell. That's what we're saying. So, firstly, understanding what this is all about, development, and then becoming a significant player in it, in that process, is what we're talking about. So, I'll continue. For those who are joining, my name is Nelson Okona, and today we are reviewing a very important topic as part of this BAP webinar. It's a business analyst program webinar. We are discussing how, as an analyst, we can contribute optimally to development and why we're having the training. So I'm going to continue. So I've earlier mentioned that development is the goal, and you have to properly oriented to the institutions that determine how this goal is achieved. And in this, our time and age, is about the firms and the government organizations. So you need to know how to work with these two entities. Now, let me add another layer of complexity to the subject, which is that we live in a globalized setting. In other words, there is free movement of goods, capital, ideas. I'm in many meetings where we are having partnership meetings with different stakeholders from different countries considering investing in Nigeria. So it's a global economy. You could move your money from anywhere. You could travel. Of course, there's no free movement of people. You need to get a visa to move. But the point is that the world is a global village. Now, this has significant implication. Even though the world is a global village, there's no free movement of people like that, easily like that. So it means that you can stay here in Nigeria and buy an iPad. You could buy an iPhone. You could buy any gadget you want. Even if you are not, as a nation, able to develop that product yourself, you could buy if you have enough money to buy it. Now, that creates some unique set of challenges, meaning that if care is not taken, it's possible for a nation to remain a consuming nation while others become producing nations. It's possible because of the free movement of goods and services. So before, assuming there was no free movement of goods and services, I could say, oh, Nigeria must develop iPad, Nigeria must do her own car, Nigeria must do, there's a motivation to do that, but now that motivation is not as strong. So if care is not taken, a region can become so disadvantaged developmentally simply because they can buy anything they want if they have the money. So it means that you can have a setting whereby the difference between the rich and the poor is stuck. With their eyes, the poor can see the riches of globalization, but they cannot access it. That is why the Japan move becomes critical, because you want to move to a certain where you can develop yourself better if you have the education. But if you don't, you are stuck here. And there's no way everybody cannot live. So we have to figure out, how do we develop ourselves optimally so that we can be competitive with the world? That's another context I'm adding to this. That is a global challenge, and you need to consider that. Now, because of this consideration, it means that contemporary education, as we have it today, you must have noticed that the education that you get in your school today is not necessarily synonymous with your capacity to contribute to development. In other words, the fact that you went to school does not mean that you can contribute optimally to development. So there are a lot of people who have gone to school, but they don't have jobs. So education is good provided that it prepares you sufficiently for the development process. That is one key consideration. Two, development process, which education is part of it, must take into cognizance the challenges of the institution and of the nation. In other words, you cannot be thinking as if you're in America. You're in Nigeria here today. So if you cannot solve the development issues of Nigeria, your education is not relevant. Nobody's going to pay you money. So that's why there are a lot of people who have done masters abroad, but they came back, no job still. Because your education must be tied to the development issues of the nation that you are in. So it means that the education process must expose you to the challenges of development, which is why BAP is more industry focused. It's not theory, because we just have to immerse you in the challenges of the time. Then, in addition to that, if knowledge, this is from this fourth point now is from a national perspective, not individual perspective. It means that if knowledge is the critical determinant for development, we should have IP management rights, as in intellectual property management systems. Now, if you just heard that for the first time, that's one of the reasons why you're going to have this lecture, because you need to know what are intellectual property. Intellectual property are the creations of the mind. You need to know how to manage it, because knowledge is power. There's a whole literature on that, but we'll get to that in quickly. I have spent 20 minutes already. I need to start rushing. Now, you also find out that there's as if there's a separation between education and the development process. Many years ago, you cannot say you're going to school and you're not learning how to fight. It's not theory fight you're learning. You are learning how to fight practically. If you were, let's say, with your forefathers in the farm 50, 100 years ago, you are farming. At the age of 12, you're already farming. It's not that theory of farming. So, because we have separated the education process from the development process itself, there are a lot of people who have ideas but no practical capacity to implement. That's one of the challenges that we are facing, which is why we're having these courses. But it's good to have this background. Now, these are the challenges that we think that exist, and these are challenges that are formed, that influence the choice of us setting up this program. Now, I'd like you to look at these challenges critically and validate if you think they are correct. Again, feel free to send in your questions. There is unemployment in the midst of numerous employment opportunities. Our biggest challenge, our biggest understanding as a firm is that our clients are looking for good human resources, and we don't have enough human resources for them. Unfortunately, that is true. Every day I'm inundated with requests for staff, but where do you get people that understand the challenges and who have capacity to contribute? So it's not about jobs. There is jobs in Nigeria, but we don't have people who can fill those jobs. Of course, we need more jobs. We need people to create more jobs, but even the few that exist, because of the challenging environment, every employer is looking for people who can help him fight the war to win this challenge that we have in this country. But people are looking for who will take care of them and give them a job. So if you don't have capacity to contribute optimally to the war area, just like say, if you have a hectic war as a general, what you need are captains, commanders, right? You don't need young people who have not been to war before, because the war is already ahead of you. You cannot say, come and be learning war. They will die. You know that kind of stuff. So, and that death is unemployment, because you have to leave the system again. So that's the challenge. There is unemployment in the midst of numerous employment opportunity. There's poor skills to market fits. Very few, people churned out from the universities yearly have capacity to meet the needs of the market. And that's a huge challenge. Thirdly is that even though we have a large MSME population, the MSMEs are not as competitive. Like for example, Nigeria's MSMEs account for about 85% of the population. Nigeria account for that 85% of the population. However, their exports is very low, just 7%. Just 7% of people. Okay. Just 7% is the exports at the moment. That's another challenge because of poor capacity internally. Now, there's also poor incentive for in-firm training. In other words, many organizations don't have the incentive to train. You know why? From my experience, it takes at least 1 year to train a staff to become useful to the work that we do. And I found that to be the same for most organizations, 1 year minimum. And 3 years to get the person to a place of proficiency. 3 years. But why would you make that investment? Because you can train the person today, tomorrow the person will leave. So most people don't have that motivation to train. The other day we heard that Dangote imported 7,000 people. To give you context, a university takes about 1,000 persons per annum. Big universities take about 3,000, 4,000 per annum. So talking about, and that is total class. So an engineering class can be, let's say, 100 people. Or in the faculty, let's even say 300 in the faculty, the whole engineering. So to hire 7,000 engineers, to hire like 25 sets of graduates. That is what it means. So if you're asking them to train these people, you're asking that he needs 25 years, for one university to train. So it's a big challenge. So why would he do that? But not just hire already trained people. So, which is why you need to actually enroll for BAP, because we think that we have something to offer, something massive to offer. Now, most people come to the marketplace don't even understand the big picture. They don't understand the big picture. They don't. This is my own personal opinion, and our findings show that too. They don't understand the pori of factors that influence a play in the marketplace. Then, this is in light of emerging opportunities in Africa, which is massive, and that's relatively low computational thinking. So with all these challenges, sorry, I think I went to the wrong side, sorry. With all these challenges, we think that we can begin introducing the topic. Now let me introduce just a small intro of some of the things that we'll be discussing in the course of BAP. Again, if you're just joining us, my name is Nelson Okona. I'm the CEO of October Development Company, and I'm glad to have this session with you. This is an intro class on the Analyst program that we're running, and we believe that every young person who is not delivering optimally in the marketplace, or which is about to enter the marketplace, should enroll for this course. It is said that an advisory experience or working in an advisory firm is one of the best, best way to enter the marketplace, because 1 year in an advisory space or 2 years in an advisory space gives you that big picture thinking that you need. So at BAP, we're trying to crash that big thinking into a 3 months course. We are aware that 3 months is insufficient to prepare you adequately for all the challenges that you face, but it gives you sufficient skill set to become a player in that space. In other words, you are beginning to learn. And from my experience placing people post training, our employers, people that took our students, are very happy with them because they understand to an extent what they are saying. So let's introduce you to the world of business. Now, what is business? Business is the practice of creating and distributing value in a marketplace. That is business as a process, as a practice. A business is the organization that is engaged in that practice. So that is business as a noun. A marketplace, which is where business happens, is the space, physical or virtual, where these goods and services are exchanged. Very important that you note these definitions. This is the activity itself, this is the entity itself, and everything happens within a marketplace. There's a process which you can call a value chain. Remember, this is about creating and distributing value, but that value has a chain. The chain of value creation is one, the design and product development, two, the production, which will include many factors, inward logistics, transformation, input, packaging, etc. Depending on the business, but this value chain is consistent for every business, but the details will vary. You have to market that product or service. Then someone has to consume it. And in many cases, there's a recycling, a feedback loop, either a physical recycling, like in goods, or a virtual recycling as in ideas. So note this. Design, development, production, marketing, and consumption. Very important. In the BAP course, of course, we have to analyze every element of this, and what will teach you how to analyze every element of this for every category of business, so that you can learn how to think through the different processes. So, for example, now if you say the computer business, you're using okay, let's say the phone business. If you're listening to me today, you are using either a phone, an iTablet, or or a laptop. So these are products. Someone has sold it to you, but think about it. How did they come about getting that product in your hands? There was a design ideation phase. There was significant investment in the design of that product, significant massive investment, and that design has certain elements. Of course, the patenting of the IP, the software, the hardware. Someone has to do all that at the design stage. Then someone has to now go into the whole, even at that design stage, you have to confirm if it's viable. As a management consultant, the bulk of my work is to analyze to see, do we have a winning business proposition? So I spend a lot of time in the design approach to development stage. But I also spend a lot of time doing production, the actual work. And Octavio, we also have a real estate company. So we've done some heavy construction work. So the actual work itself is also a business process. You create value at every level of this. If you lose the value at the design stage, you're going to have a problem. If you get design stage right and you get product development stage wrong, you're going to have a problem. If you get number 1, 2 right and you miss it at marketing, you're going to have a problem. So you see, so being able to understand a business is about understanding the 4 stages of value creation and addition. Very important thing to note. So as an analyst, you think about these things granularly like this as I'm discussing it now. It's not just a business. A business has children, has elements. You have to understand those elements, right? Okay. Now, in analyzing a business, of course, there are different elements you can consider to analyze it. There are many considerations. I just mentioned some. Ownership, Like there's firms that are private liability, so limited liability companies, public limited liability companies. You have partnerships. You have limited liability partnerships. Different definitions. We will also teach you that you need to know that because each one has its features. So you can't just say I'm in business. What is the structure of that business? What is the legal structure of that business? Of course, just offer different products and services, different locations, different sizes, small, medium size, and then profit considerations. So those are not for profit, some are for profit, So it's good that I just mentioned that so that you know that there are, other details in analyzing a business. Now, these are just periphery. Now, a business does not exist in isolation. A business exists within an industry, and that industry exists within a sector. So, for example, now I could say the education sector. But that education sector is a sector in Nigeria as an economy, right? But the education sector, you could have the tertiary education industry, which is a market of its own, different from the whole education sector, which has tertiary, primary, secondary, which also have ancillary goods that those supply uniform to that sector, those are providing, let's say, entertainment to that sector. They are all part of the sector, but different sub units. So you could have the broader economy, Nigerian economy, you have the education sector, you have the let's say primary school industry. Within that industry, you have different segments. Primary school, you have primary, high-end, low-end, public, private. I'm just discussing so that you understand some of the critical thinking that affect the way you look at business. So if you're in a business today, you're working for an organization that is a medium scale, let's say high-end primary school. Someone else is in low-end primary school. You're serving a different market with different properties, different features, different engagement modalities, different structures. So just wait to understand that. So to properly understand the business, you have to understand the legal regulatory framework that creates the business, the characters of the industry within which the business exists, the peculiarities in those industries. Now, what is the goal of a business? A business exists to maximize shareholders' wealth. As an analyst, your job is to be a development practitioner. Development is being able to get better, increase value from interacting with the environment. So from a business perspective, your goal is to maximize the wealth of the shareholders, which could be money as a profit. It could be, let's say, I want to create value, I want to change the world. That to me is profit. That should be the goal of that project. Or environmental impact, social impact, as a public sector, which is also a business in a way. The goal is social impact. As an analyst, your goal is to achieve the goal of a business. And that is development in a nutshell, because remember, firms are instruments of development. But entities within the firms are those that actually do the job. And your capacity to earn money in this country and all over the world is a factor of your ability to contribute to the business process. Some could say it's not how to make money, but we don't want to take at it from that perspective, because you can make money without creating value. You can steal it. Some politicians today are making money, but they're not creating value. So we're not talking about just making money. We're talking about creating value. If you create value, you make money. But you don't need to create value to make money. You can steal it. There's a lecture for thieves, and we're not offering it. So we're offering for those that want to create value and make money doing that. So, for example, MSMEs account for 60% of all businesses all over the world. In Nigeria, they account for 84% of employment. Their exports, capacity is low. We said that earlier before. 20% of small businesses fail in their first year. By second year, 30% has failed. Fifth year, about half has failed. But the point why we are mentioning this is that every firm needs a good team. Every firm needs a good team, and you can be part of that team. So, what all these numbers? Business owners are looking for partners in development efforts. They are looking for heads. They are looking for people like you, skilled people like you, people that have knowledge. That is, if you do, we hope you do. Our goal is to help you to have that capacity. They are looking for people like you in a nutshell. That is the summary of all that we are saying. That businesses in Nigeria are looking for capable people. And capability is not by the degree you have. Capability is your ability to understand the challenges of a business and to help the business owner to achieve profits. I tell people the truth that every person that has money wants to have more, even if not for themselves, but for others. I want more money. I'm fine as I am, but I want a lot more. Not for myself anymore, but to be able to support the needy. It feels satisfying, joyful to give. But imagine that customer tell you that I'm employing you, paying you 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 every month. Even me as is paying it, I'm happy. You understand? I'm happy. So I want more. Everybody does. Not just to spend on themselves, but for many reasons. But if you want more, you cannot get that more if you don't have enough people on your team who have capacity. That is the summary of the challenge. It's a big challenge and it's a global challenge. There's a big difference between heads and muscle. What you want to hire in the workplace is the head. So there are no push-up machines in this office when you come online, but so you can do it. It's not as hard as lifting muscle. So some of the things that we're going to focus on: market analysis, the legal and regulatory requirements within which businesses operate, IP protection. What is IP? Debt and equity financing, financial analysis, human resource management, basic accounting, international trade research, report writing. So those are some of the core competencies that people want you to have in the marketplace. If you have all this, you will not need that class. But if you don't, you need this class. Now, let me give a case study. Just imagine that you have a boss who operates a business that makes about 3.5 million monthly. But Nigeria's classification, that business is a small, medium, it's a small business. 3.5, so this is a small business, but Nigeria's classification. Now, this person has an opportunity to open a new agricultural processing plant, a business, another place that does agri processing. This person thinks that she might need 10 million naira additional financing to maximize this opportunity. And she has asked for your opinion. If you think she should go ahead and make, that step of looking for the money, looking for the opportunity, she has come to you for recommendation. She also thinks that if she can get 10 million naira to maximize this opportunity, she also wants you to manage it. The question now is this: can you, with the skill set that you have today, analyze that market sufficiently to say, yes, we should go ahead for this, with justifications, with projections? Can you say, this is how we're going to raise that money? Can you raise that money for her and help her run that business? If you can't, then you are the kind of person every business is looking for. I mark my word, every. If you can't, that is why you need this training. Because we want to set you on the path of knowing exactly how to solve this kind of challenge. There are three challenges here: analysis, 2, financing, 3, management. And this is what everybody is looking for. Understanding hearts, people who understand money and who can raise money for their businesses, and 3, who can manage. So, being able and confident to answer these questions that was raised and to lead the implementation of it is the goal of the program. It's beyond analysis because you must lead it. So it's beyond skills, physical skills. It's also about your attitude, because again, there's also an attitude to value creation. It's not just in methodology, it's not just about cramming formulas, it's an attitude. You have to become a leader, you have to become a manager. It's a becoming process to do. In 3 months, we'll set you on that path, and of course, after the training, we'll support you going forward. But I'm just trying to let you know the goalposts. So this is the reason, in a nutshell, why you should get a training for a BAP training. What I have said so far. Now, the curriculum for BAP is basically all you need to know to answer that question well. Includes things like accounting, break-even calculation, legal forms of business, conceptual skills in knowledge work environment, market analysis, industrial analysis, firm competitiveness, law of contract, legal documentation, organizational development, branding and marketing, business accounting. This 3 months is not easy, it's difficult. 3 times a day. 3 times a day, and each day is about 4 hours of lecture. So it's tough. It's like going to university again. So venture financing, risk equity financing, sure that the same thing was repeated. So that is subsect of it. IP management, development communication, international business. So a bunch of this curriculum is what you need to cover. Be able to intelligently answer that question that we raised. And as you said earlier, that is the goal of every businessman out there. We're looking for, I say we, not just, me too, I'm looking, for human beings that have capacity. So we are even looking for people to hire too, even within our organization. But beyond us, there are 1,000 businesses out there, those that we're already working with. Everybody is asking for the same thing. We need the business development manager, we need the business manager, we need an analyst, we need an operations manager, we need an executive assistant, we need a facility manager, we need operations staff. These are entry level positions you have to enter. Once you enter it, you can start climbing. But once you have the knowledge, the know-how that we're discussing here today, you can do the climbing yourself. Again, if you're just joining us, my name is Nelson Oponia. We're having a session for promoting the business analyst program, and my goal today is to provide you some insights as to what we need, what you need, to become that person that can add value in the marketplace, that can be a development practitioner. So, this is the course introduction. Our goal Our mission is to equip you with the capacity to contribute to value creation in the prevailing local and international business arena. That is both local and international, not just local champion, to understand what is happening all over the world. Because the knowledge base is the same all over the world. The structure, we have 3 days a week for 10 weeks of lectures. If you like to get to 12 weeks of lecture, so it's 10 to 12 weeks of lecture based on the class, because sometimes the class can be fast, sometimes can be slow, so it can be. But we really want you to get this. We give you for each day there are case projects you will do, so many assignments to do, and this assignment will be assessed and scored. You have daily writing exercise. You have tour visits where we're going to invite businessmen to come to the training venue and meet with you online and also physically for those that will be coming online, because we know everybody will not be here physically. For those that can come physically, fantastic. For those who can be online, you hear me the way you're hearing me now, or the other resource persons. There'll be 1 month internship placement. Now, this internship, you will also support the process of doing that, but we'll discuss that when you enroll. But you place for 1 month plus, it could be 3 months actually, because most of those who have placed already have done more than 2 months even at the moment. So depending on the organization. Then we also support students that score above 80 to get jobs. In fact, we got 1 and 6 jobs for the first class of students who have finished a couple of months ago. And actually, since of them have already gotten placement. So of course, I just saw the ground rules, for the lectures. So I think I can stop here and take some of your questions to be sure that you all got what was said. I'll just ask my team if there are any questions from the group that you want me to respond to. But not at the moment. So I hope you heard me clearly, and we look forward to having you at the PAC program. We are passionate about what we are doing. For us, is beyond a business of providing you with training, because we know that the fee we are charging is little compared to the value that we're going to get. However, we're charging that just to tick some of our operational costs. Now, some people might not be able to afford the PAC. Apply still and let us know so that I can consider for a scholarship position. If we don't give scholarship this year, at least maybe next year's batch, because this will be the last batch for this year. Next year, early next year, first quarter, we'll do another one. We can also enroll for that. And okay, I think there's a question. Is there a question? Sorry, let me see. Yes. Certificates. Of course, yes, the certificate for it. People price certificates. Certificate is not, we can print a paper and give you. It's not as well as a concern. A concern is you give certificate. A concern is that you learn what we are saying, and when we place you for internship, you get a job. That is what is most important. But yes, certificate. And you can also cite as your job experience that you did the back program for 3 months and put me as a referee, put us as a referee. Certificate is the least of your problem, but yes, we get certificate for it. Thank you for asking the question, which is very important. Yeah, someone said he's still a student. To be frank, we believe that 100-level students can understand this thing we're teaching. Yes, I believe so. So if you have the time, about 4 hours a day, 3 days a week, if you have the time, because if someone does not attend over a period of time, we would remove you. We don't tolerate low attendance. If you do less than 75% at a given time, then let's say you miss class 3 times in a row, you are out. It's not like when you feel like you come. No. Even if you've paid, you are out. Fee is unrefundable. And yes, you can pay over time. We don't expect if you can pay at once, fantastic. Some people are paid at once. If you pay over time, still fine. Over a 3 months period, you should pay like let's say 40% down payment and then pay the rest in the course of the program. As a student, if you have that time, we believe that a student can understand what we're teaching. It's not complex like that. It's just that it's a new word that you've not been exposed to. And it is a lingua franca, the language of business. Any other question? Okay. So I would, my team has asked me to show this back flyer before we fly out. So I think I can speak why this is still playing. I believe you can still hear me. Okay. I should reduce the volume. Okay. So in a nutshell, it's 250,000 payable over 3 installments. It's a 3-day program, 3-day week program. It's intense. Again, I said it's intense. And minimum requirement is a BSc. But for that student that is asking, to make an exception for you, if you have the time. Again, if you skip sessions more than 3 days in a row, whether online or offline, because we will know if you watch the video. Because we are giving you daily assignment. So if you don't do the assignment, you don't watch the videos, you're out. Because you cannot make all the effort and people don't appreciate it. That's why you have to kick people out. And like I said, if you score above 80%, it's a guaranteed job placement. So someone was asking me, are you sure you can hire everybody? I said, yes, our experience shows that there's enough work out there. We're not saying that we'll hire you immediately. Hear me. But we are taking personal responsibility of ensuring that you are hired. So it's our job now to place you. So I think I can round up here in the absence of another question. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.